Hey, second graders, I tuned in just in time for you to see Elliot uh, get Senior Sassers. We are going to be reading chapter 37 today, and this chapter is titled The Squirrel. A small squirrel was scurrying through the garden. Brightbill had never seen her before. He peered out from the nest and watched her bounce across the lawn. After a minute of spying, the gosling shook his tail feathers and waddled outside. "Hello, my name is Brightbill." The squirrel froze. Then she slowly turned around, and then she started to talk. Let's just wait a second. Whoop. "Hi, Brightbill. My name is Chit Chat. I'm a 12-and-a-half-week old squirrel, and my new home is here, and your home is really big and round, and I don't understand why smoke sometimes comes out of it." Reader, I'm not quite sure how Chit Chat got enough air in her lungs to go on like that, and I'm not quite sure how Brightbill had the patience to listen, but he stood there politely and nodded as Chit Chat rambled on and on and on. "And sometimes I see you waddling behind your funny-looking mother. You seem so nice that I thought I'd come down and introduce myself. But now I'm nervous and I'm talking too much, and my name is Chit Chat. Did I say that already?" There was a pleasant silence. Brightbill stood on one foot for a moment, and then the gosling took a deep breath and said, "It's very nice to meet you, Chit Chat. I don't think you talk too much. I think you talk just enough. I like you. Let's be friends." A big smile appeared on the squirrel's tiny face. For once, Chit Chat was speechless. Chapter 38, A New Friendship. Chit Chat wasn't speechless for long. She'd already been alive for a whole 12-and-a-half weeks, and she wanted to tell Brightbill about every exciting thing and every boring thing that had ever happened to her. And so, as the new friends played and explored and ate together, the squirrel shared her stories. "I was born on the other side of the hill, and then last week I decided I was ready to build my first dry, which is what we call a squirrel's nest. Now I live in a tree with a weird bump in its trunk," she said while the two of them kicked pebbles into the pond. "One time a weasel chased me through the treetops until he missed a branch and fell all the way down and crashed into a bush, walked away all wobbly and never bothered me again," she said while the two of them crawled through a hollow log. "Ew, gross. I saw you eat that ant one time, and I ate a gnat by accident, and I didn't like it at all. I mostly eat acorns and bark and tree buds and sometimes yummy berries that grow in your garden," she said while the two of them took a snack break. But Chit Chat was a good listener. She was as good of a listener as she was a talker, and whenever it was Brightbill's turn to speak, she'd keep quiet and hang on every word. Do you know who enjoyed their conversations the most of all? Our robot Roz. The protective mother was never far away, and she felt something like amusement at the silly conversations that she overheard. She felt something like happiness that her son had made such a good friend. Chapter 39, The First Flight. Okay, think back to when Roz was watching Brightbill swim. How do you think she's going to feel about flying? Brightbill had spent his entire life by the pond, and he was becoming very curious about what lay beyond his neighborhood. So one day his mother said to him, "Let's go for a walk, and I'll show you more water than you can possibly imagine." Roz placed the gosling on her flat shoulder, and the two of them set off across the island. They marched out of the forest, across the great meadow, and climbed uphill until they were on top of the island's western ridge. Before them was a grassy slope that descended all the way down to dark, choppy waves that surrounded the island. "That is a lot of water," the wide-eyed gosling said. "I'm a good swimmer, but I'm not good enough to swim across that pond." That is not a pond, said the robot. That is an ocean. I doubt any bird could swim across an ocean. Waves rolled in from the horizon, seagulls circled above the shore, a steady breeze blew up the slope. Brightbill's yellow fluff had recently changed over to a coat of silky brown feathers. He spread his feathery wings into the breeze, and then... Mama, look! For the briefest of moments, the wind lifted Brightbill off the ground. He quickly tipped backwards and thumped onto the soft grass. I was flying, he squeaked. That was not flying, said Roz, looking back at her upside-down son. Well, I almost was flying. I'm going to try again. I have observed many birds in flight, said Roz. Sometimes they flap their wings quickly, and other times they fly without flapping at all. They spread their wings and soar on the wind. So I was soaring, said Brightbill. Almost. There, look at that soaring seagull. It seems like she is doing nothing, but if you look closer, you will notice that she's making small adjustments with her wings and her tail. I think you should try adjusting your wings in the wind like her. Brightbill hopped onto a rock, opened his wings wide. The wind is pushing me backwards. Change the angle of your wings, said his mother. Let us see what happens when they slice through the air. Brightbill slowly angled his wings downward, and the more he turned them, the less wind pushed him back. And just as his wings leveled off, Mama, look! He squeaked as his feet lifted off the ground. I'm soaring, I'm soaring! He hovered there for a second, raising a little higher than before, and then he sailed backwards into the soft grass again. The gosling kept hopping onto the rock and kept riding the wind and kept tumbling onto the grass until he started to find his wings. With each attempt, he floated a little higher and a little longer, and finally, Brightbill really did soar. He lifted high into the air and hung there floating. He turned his wings down and he felt them drop. He wriggled his tail feathers and felt himself veering back and forth. I'm a natural, he squeaked. You're doing well, said Roz, but you need to keep practicing. And so they spent the afternoon practicing up on the ridge, but Brightbill was comfortable. Once Brightbill was comfortable soaring, he tried flapping his wings. He flapped high into the air. He flapped in straight lines. He flapped around and around in circles. A big smile appeared on the gosling's face. Clearly, Brightbill was designed to fly. I'm flying, Mama, I'm flying. You are flying, said the robot. Very good. Brightbill was now a real flyer, but all that flying had worn him out. He lowered himself towards the ground and tumbled onto the grass one last time. His landings still needed work. Roz placed Brightbill on her shoulder, and they headed back to the nest. I can't believe I can fly now, Mama, said Brightbill in a sleepy voice. I just wish you could fly with me. And then the gosling's words were replaced by his quiet, steady breathing. He fell asleep. Chapter 40, The Ship. Brightbill was a flying fanatic. His favorite place to fly was up on the grassy ridge. The robot and the gosling liked to spend afternoons up there, working on finer points of flying, and it was on one such afternoon that they noticed something mysterious far out in the sea. Brightbill spiraled down to his mother, flopped onto the grass, and pointed to the horizon. Mama, what is that thing? Roz's computer brain found the right word. That is a ship. What's a ship? A ship is a large vessel used for ocean transplant. Brightbill's face scrunched up with confusion. Used by who? I do not know. It was the first ship either of them had ever laid eyes on. From that distance, it looked as though it was moving slowly, but it was actually racing through the waves. From that distance, it looked as though it was small. but it was actually one of the largest ships ever built. The robot and the Gosling watched it crawl across the ocean until finally it disappeared to the south. Where had the ship come from? Where was it going? Who was on board? Roz and Brightbill had many questions, but no answers. Okay, boys and girls, that's about 10 minutes. We are up to chapter 41. We are making some pretty good progress. I always love to look when I'm reading a book at like how far I'm getting through it. We're making some really good progress. Boys and girls, in today's activities, I've included some YouTube videos about poems and about different kinds of poems. If you want, you can watch some of them and attempt or write some poems about the wild robot. We can write an acrostic poem. You could put like robot down, or you could put Brightbill down, and then you can use sentences to describe Brightbill or Roz. Also, haikus from last year. If you remember, in first grade, we wrote a lot of haikus. Those are the 5, 7, 5 syllable poems. And also, I included a video about limericks. So if you guys would like to write some poems in your journal, considering that April is Poetry Month and we didn't really get a chance to do too many poems this year, definitely do that and then share them on Flipgrid. I'd love to listen to them, and I hope that you guys have a great day. Bye!